Hey, and welcome to another episode of Using AI at Work. Today we have a special guest, Sara Davison, founder of Maivenly, an innovative AI agency dedicated to helping businesses navigate the complex world of AI adoption. Sara's journey in the AI space has been remarkable, from building powerful AI automations to leading transformative projects that save clients thousands of dollars and countless hours. With her AI Business Growth Accelerator, Sara is redefining how companies integrate AI to achieve real-world, measurable, and transformative results. Join us as we get deep into her strategic insights and practical tips on leveraging AI for business success. Let's get started. Welcome to Using AI at Work. I'm your host, Chris Daigle. Each week, we'll be learning how today's business owners, entrepreneurs, and ambitious professionals are getting more done with smart use of tomorrow's tech. Let's get started. Awesome. Hey, today we've got Sara Davison. And Sara, thank you so much for being here. And I mean that seriously. I know that you're an extremely busy entrepreneur who is being inundated with opportunities in the AI space. And for you to take a moment out to share with the Using AI at Work audience is a fantastic thing. So if you don't mind, just let everybody know a little bit about yourself and what you're up to.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for having me. I'm always happy to jam with anyone and geek out on all the AI stuff. So any opportunity that I get, I'm always like, yeah, let's do it.
Nice.
So my name is Sara Davison. Chris and I actually connected via an AI community. So that's how we know each other. I connected with quite a few people that I currently work with from there. And I am the owner and founder of an AI agency called Maivenly. And what it is that we focus on an accelerator as a path for companies to be able to adopt AI. So we've essentially figured out over the last year and a half of serving clients, of building automations, of, doing all of these workflows and things like that, is that it really needs to be a cohesive component that you sort of approach AI adoption versus a fragmented approach. And so that's where we sort of focus our efforts in the whole AI adoption game.
There's a huge demand for that. And for the business owners and the leaders and the decision makers who are listening to this, I would imagine that a lot of them have started their investigation into what's out there as far as help, support, training, empowerment for their teams. And before we recorded this, we kind of made a joke about, the 22-year-old kid that's like, I'm an AI expert, right? That's not what most businesses need, in my opinion. So if you don't mind sharing with the audience, what do you think a business should be looking for when they're sourcing that AI expertise externally to come in and support them?
I sort of feel that AI is this journey that everybody has to go on to a certain extent. So a lot of us started the same way, where we, heard about AI and then heard more about AI and heard even more about AI. And that piqued our interest, and we started understanding how important and critical it is for our businesses and our work and the way that we understand the world to adapt to what is coming. But there is just so much hype around that you can end up getting really confused. And I feel like a lot of us start in the same way, where we get plugged in and we subscribe to all the AI newsletters. We start saving all of the ChatGPT template prompts and the mega prompts that you find on LinkedIn or wherever. You start like playing with a million AI tools and subscribing to them all. And then you just find yourself spinning your wheels because you're trying to do little parts of everything without really taking a step back and assessing where is my business needing to go and what do we need to do to get there. So I think it's really important to answer your question, is that when business leaders are looking into someone who can support them with that, is to engage someone who actually won't be tactical so much in their approach. I think it's totally fine to start with like pilot programs and automations and get your kind of hands dirty, because I think that's an essential part of the learning process. Mm-hmm. But not someone who will kind of just stop there, because that's not really going to give you the leverage that you need to actually benefit from the technology.
So that's a very much in line with our thesis as well. Do you mind taking a second to explain to the listeners so that they can easily identify the difference between strategic approach to it and a tactical approach to it?
Mm-hmm. So a tactical approach could be that you engage someone to, or you end up buying, a prompt, like a prompt library with 1,000 prompts. Once you start engaging in that, and once you start using those, you realize that that is not, custom to your actual needs as a business.
Mm-hmm.
And just looking at it from like the point of view of like these really generic kind of solutions, it's not a one size fit all. So you need to be able to take platforms, whether you're using ChatGPT for teams, whether you're approaching it in different ways. What you need is to be able to tailor that, or someone who will be able to tailor what usage or power that platform has and put it behind your business, not the other way around. So I
Well
think
said.
it's really understanding how, speaking to someone who will sit down and understand strategically what you need to achieve in your business, but also can bridge the gap between understanding that and knowing with quite depth the elements of AI that will help get you there. And 1,000 ChatGPT prompts won't.
Yeah, agreed. Now, that was well said. So for those of you listening, the tool is not the fix. The tool is an accelerant. The real fix has nothing to do with AI. It has to do with you getting clear on what you want out of your business and then working backwards from there on the plan, exactly like what Sara was talking about. So if you're out there on the tool hunt and you think that there's going to be the silver bullet that's going to be that one, tool stack that's going to change your business, if you don't know where to apply those tools, you're going to have minimal impact. So, Sara, with the individuals that are reaching out to you that are concerned, are you seeing any type of patterns or trends? And like, first off, the education level of the people that are reaching out for you. And I don't mean education like they graduate college, but their AI literacy levels. What are you finding from the individuals who are reaching out?
It's funny. I am like currently working with people who are across the spectrum, where like we have one particular business who is, he might have just tried ChatGPT one or two times and gone, holy cow, like I know that this is the future. I can see that this is where the puck is going. And so therefore I need to align my business to that. And so I don't even think he's got a ChatGPT Pro account or anything. He doesn't even want to know,
Yeah.
really. He just wants someone to like actually come in and help him solve a problem using AI and take his business on that journey. And then you have other people, typically like larger organizations that that have to consider the enablement component, where they have to drive the team, or they have to like pull the team over towards a new way of doing things. So the training and the sessions with the teams becomes really important, because you're bringing everybody along the journey, and having to get buy-in at different levels. So it really depends on the organization.
So are you, we were talking about this, how our LinkedIn feeds are nothing but AI. So we're just assuming that everybody is as immersed in this subject as us. Are you encountering prospects that are reaching out that have that level of immersion, or are people just got FOMO and want to figure it out?
Both. I think both. I think there's this element where some people will, have gotten their hands dirty, or some teams or whatever, and they're just, they can see how it works, but they're not at that stage where they need to break through to the next level, which is, well, how do we actually make this meaningful for our work and our business? Like we get the whole, building custom GPTs or whatever, but but they kind of sense that there's more to it. There's like this next level, and they're just not really sure how to break through that barrier. So there are people who are in that field, and then people who are just caught in the hype and say, I get this is a there's a sea change happening here, and I feel anxious about it, and I'm not exactly sure where to start, because I think that that's a big component is when you're locked into the hype and the newsletters and you're trying to keep up. It's impossible. It's impossible
It's impossible. Yeah.
to run a business, operate a business, and keep your finger on the pulse 100% of the time. So I think having someone whose job it is to actually keep their finger on the pulse for you, to be able to, who has, done the trial and error, who has tried the platforms, tried the tools, understands how to best to maneuver things to kind of massage them and make them work for different use cases. It's such a valuable skill that if you're serious about adopting AI, that you should consider.
So you brought up a good point. I did the same thing. I subscribed to all the newsletters and now they're all unsubscribed, right? Because I realized that they're all regurgitating the same stories. And at some point, here's the secret: generative AI isn't that hard, right? So at some point you realize, I think I've figured this out enough. What's more important is the domain expertise about your own business or your industry or your department or whatever. So for those of you who are out there thinking that you got to subscribe to all these newsletters, maybe do it initially if you're a fact finder, just to see what's out there. But I would suggest that is not the path to mastery at all. So for, let's say you were on a plane and the business owner sitting next to you says, "Oh, what do you do?" And you said, "Oh, this is what I do." He said, "Hey, where should I get started?" What would you tell them to do?
It feels to me that there is this almost roadmap, where it's kind of like you have to start in the hype to actually go, okay, well, this is not working in a way. Don't spend too long there though. Get excited, play with the tools, do whatever you want, but then understand that that's not going to really move the puck for you. I think, for me, what I had to do, if I explain my personal journey, because I started there, I started with subscribing to everything. I started with saving all those ChatGPT prompts. I started, with the subscribing to all those tools and things. And I got to a point where I was like, there's just too much. I just need to clear the, my screens, clear whatever, and actually just really double down. What are the 2 or 3 things, the 2 or 3 platforms or tools that is really going to be meaningful for my business? So as an example, like I'm on the business side of AI. So things like Midjourney and things like that, like they're fun to begin with, but they're not really part of what I would offer or anything like that. So, don't spend time there. I think it's important to go deep, to kind of like stage 1 is like play, and then stage 2 is like go deep, and then stage 3 might be kind of like, okay, well, I understand these tools. I understand what prompts are. I've seen the difference between a good prompt and a bad prompt. I, understand the difference between workflows and automations. I've seen them at work. And then I think then the kind of next stage could be, in terms of AI applied, is going, well, what is a problem that I'm looking to solve, or a challenge or an opportunity in my business? And how do I align what I've learned and my process and my knowledge and my expertise and all of the things that that skill set that I've built, and use that to help inform, support, and push forward this thing that I want to achieve in my business. And being super focused on having an objective, a container, so to speak, that aligns, building the capability, the talent, the infrastructure that you need in order for you to be able to essentially bring AI into that process or that business function and completely AIify it to the next level.
Perfect. So, folks, if you're listening, she did not say do everything all at once. She said get started somewhere that you can manage. So I think that's fantastic advice. And what's going to ultimately happen is it's going to be a success or it's going to be a failure. If it's a success, move on to the next one. If it's a failure, figure out what you did wrong, because I can tell you the level of AI that Sara and I work with regularly, it's not the geeky data science side of things. It is the extremely applicable, low learning curve, generative AI tools that we're working with and that you can work with as well to get those solutions. What are some of the things, what's some advice that you might give somebody? Now, we've obviously talked about that they don't need to try and keep up with everything, but I would imagine that if I was a business owner and I hadn't started my due diligence on the topic of AI, there would probably be some concern, some anxiety, some FOMO, some whatever that, because I've heard somebody tell me that it was past guest Jeff McPherson from X Agency. He said, when I talk to clients and I show them this stuff, the first time they see it, they have a reaction. And that reaction is, oh. And he said, it's either, oh, like, wait a minute, you mean our competition is doing this? Like a bad oh, like, uh-oh. Or it's an oh, like, right? Like if their minds get blown, that aha moment for AI. So if for the business owners who are out there, if they're listening to this, it's a great first step. But what would be some of maybe the other sources? Like you mentioned that you and I connected through the AI exchange of Slack channel. I think it's like, I don't know, 15, 20 bucks a month. Incredible resource, tons of collaboration and sharing going on. Do you have any of those types of resources that you think would be helpful for somebody who is AI curious to kind of get them up to speed and get them exposed to different positions and views on it?
Yeah, I definitely like to recommend the AI exchange.
Yep.
This is where Chris and I met. And a lot of the people that have come through and are, really leading the space in terms of thought leadership and things like that. I feel like the people who come through that network are really people who are correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but sort of want to take AI to companies or either work for AI and need to they're the AI person for that company.
Yep.
So I feel like that's the flavor of that community, but it really is a great place. Like it was a real pivot point for me in terms of professionally being able to move from that kind of hype cycle to, well, there are people actually who are doing this really smartly and in a really meaningful way. So there's that community. I'm seeing more and more different industry things come up where, I've seen like one for legal sector, one for whoever, and they have different speakers that come through. So I think, even just an introductory session in your particular industry is a great place to start because that is someone who's going to potentially focus you in on the basics, the foundations without all of the noise. And I think there's events that happen on LinkedIn. I'm also hosting one on May 21st, which is an AI for business growth. So it's specifically around companies who've heard all the things about AI and they're like, well, how do I actually use it to grow my business? So that's the question we're answering.
You're doing this on LinkedIn on May 21st?
May 21st, yeah.
Okay, cool. How can people find out about that?
I can provide the link. I just literally threw it up on Friday. Sunday.
Okay, well, awesome. Yeah, well, we'll put the link in the show notes, folks. But Sarah's on here because she knows her stuff. So if she's doing something, I would encourage you to sit in on it.
I appreciate that comment. Did I answer your question, Chris?
Yeah. One of the things, me personally, I'm curious, how are other people staying, like for me, the AI Exchange was a great resource for me. It's very busy over there. So if you're new to this, and again, it's very affordable for the amount of just like peer education that is occurring in there on all these different topics. But I'm always looking is there a podcast I don't know about? Like for instance, one podcast that every guest seems to listen to is the Marketing AI Institute's podcast, right? Mm-hmm. On Tuesday or whenever it comes out, I'm always listening to it as well. So I was just looking for maybe some resources that you found helpful that, because if I was a business owner and I'm Googling this stuff, or if a smart business owner would be using Perplexity, they're inundated, right? And I think you and I would agree that not all of the commentary on the subject, particularly about AI in business, it's not all equal. There are individuals out there who are strictly a cash grab, that they got in early, they knew how to aggregate an audience, and now they're selling semi-decent prompts or whatever. And I'm always looking to make sure that the business owners, because what I would hate is for somebody to go down that path and go, I tried it. It sucks.
Yeah.
AI doesn't
Yeah.
really, and that's not the case. You have to find the right people. So, I was just curious if you had some resources that I did not know about. I try to stay abreast of all that.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't listen to that many podcasts. I know
Yeah.
that, the Marketing Institute one is good. Another good marketing focused one is the Marketing Against the Grain, which is the two CMOs of Zapier and HubSpot.
Oh.
Their focus is like really evolved around, around AI for the podcast. And they talk, about things like, what is the impact on SEO and things like that.
Nice.
So
Okay.
yeah, their podcast is good, but I find myself, it's probably because I am kind of immersed in the AI space on the practical side of things. So I spend my time actually, working with the systems, building things, pulling things together. I spend my time doing that. So I like to so I'm immersed in AI. So when I listen to business things, it's more around, for business things, I listen to like more just purely business, like how to actually build
Operate.
a good agency and operate and things like that.
With your clients, one of the, obviously using AI at work, and as I shared with you, the intention is to expose listeners to how other people are doing it in clever ways so that the listener can go, hey, wait a minute, we can try that out, right? What are some of your, maybe the low hanging fruit that you've kind of identified that when you go into a company or you're advising a client, that there's usually a couple of areas where you know that they can get a quick win, they can see the results of it and then go, hey, this stuff works, let's do more. Are there any particular areas you have noticed that are the easy wins for companies?
I really love to work with Cassidy.ai. That is a incredible platform that I essentially live in, honestly,
Yeah.
where you can access various different models at the same time. So as you get more into AI, you'll find that the different models produce different results, and then you'll start preferring different models for different things. But you're also able to build, it's essentially an AI that's trained on your business. So if you start to experience ChatGPT and you go, this is great, but what I really want is a ChatGPT for my business. It's essentially that experience, where the AIs are like this AIs that you end up using are trained on your own company data. And you can build workflows, things like that within it, more on the automation side as well. So that's always like a baseline that I feel I would love to recommend, because it's that level up from ChatGPT, but not too far down the path where it's like too inaccessible for people.
Are there any other tools, like you mentioned that you have kind of slimmed down your tool stack?
Mm-hmm.
Are there any, besides Cassidy, are there some faves that you find particularly useful? And not just for you, but maybe across all of your clients that you know that, hey, if you're interested in AI and you run a business, this is going to be helpful.
Mm-hmm. I really love Respell for more the AI automation side. So
Respell?
Yeah, Respell.ai.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a really powerful, really incredible platform that they've built that enables you to create workflows, automations, and things like that that are all AI first. So it's a very, like, this is something that I don't necessarily expect my clients to want to learn to use, but we use at the back end to support the architecture of what we're building for them. So really, like, my kind of go-tos are Cassidy, Respell.ai. I love Fathom as an AI note taker. That is a really quick, easy win. They produce, I've tried quite a few note takers, if not all of them, and I've had the best experience with Fathom. The notes that you get at the end of it is incredible, but also, like, this is a really good hack. But as an example, one way of how we use Fathom and Cassidy is that once we have, say, as an example, I have like a discovery call with a client and I need to produce a proposal. So I take that transcript, add it to my Google Drive or my Notion, which is connected to Cassidy. So then the AI is trained, like can access that information. So when I go to create a
Yes.
proposal or an assistant for it, so I've got like a proposal assistant in Cassidy, it will go and pull from that information and help me create like a really compelling proposal that is tailor fit for solving that client's pain point, and really speaking their language. So it's not just about recording and then note-taking side, it's about how you use
Right.
that data in a really powerful way to help you with your business. So yeah, those are my top 3. I
And
would
it's
say.
free.
Yeah, it's free.
Yeah. Folks, I've had some very smart friends hear me say, oh, well, the models. And they're like, what the hell are you talking about? When we say model, it's just a shortened a version of LLM or large language model. And a model would be ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever the case might be. Do you have kind of a fave, or are you using Claude for the writing and GPT for the data analysis? What's kind of your blend on that?
I love Claude. I've always been a Claude fan. And
Claude?
the new,
Yeah.
and the new Opus models is incredible. So I find myself leaning into Claude more and more. I find it
Okay.
I find it like a shame that OpenAI and ChatGPT, from a features and shipping point of view, are just blowing everybody else out of the water. But I just think about, imagine if Claude had some of that gumption behind it, in terms of the
There's real competition. Yeah.
Yeah. I just think that I just resonate much more with the output that I get from Claude, and especially with Opus now, than ChatGPT. I mean, ChatGPT is great.
Sure. So for those of you who are out there, maybe the only model you've ever been exposed to is ChatGPT. There's several out there, and what I would encourage you to do is, spend 30 minutes, just 30 minutes in one of these models, and using it and don't use it like a search engine. Use it for a solution-based endeavor. And I think that you'll notice the nuance that Sarah's mentioning here, and that I'm aware of as well, is that some are better at certain things, and that Claude tends to be the go-to for people who are doing a lot more creative work, a lot more writing and things. They tend to say Claude has better output. I just did it the hard way. I've built some custom GPTs and trained it on my writing style.
Right.
That's kind of how I get around that. So I notice one of the places where I keep up with what you're doing is in LinkedIn. Is that your primary channel for sharing thought leadership?
Mainly LinkedIn and TikTok, 2 completely different vibes.
Yeah. What's the TikTok audience?
Interesting, interesting audience.
Is it young people?
Like across the board,
Okay.
but just it's a different vibe, like you've got the LinkedIn vibe where you have to be a little bit more buttoned up.
Yeah.
And then, you can let it all go on TikTok. So
Yeah. So what are you doing there? Are you doing videos? Are you doing interviews? What are you doing on TikTok?
I've got videos mainly. Mainly a lot of videos, but I think I've got like just over 4,000 followers on that. So I'm not an influencer or anything like that, but yeah, it's interesting, and it also helps keep your finger on the pulse of like where people are at. My best performing posts on TikTok are always something along the lines of "There's more to AI than ChatGPT." Whenever I post something like that with, say, a client result and a backdrop of an automation or something like that,
Nice.
It completely goes off. And I think that, like, to your point, that's a real kind of, it's an aha moment, for a lot of people, because a lot of people just think that AI is ChatGPT.
Sure.
And when there's a whole wide world out there, you start with, I think ChatGPT is a great gateway. And then, I kind of see it in different layers where you have, the ChatGPT experience and the gateway to then AI, which, start with, your skills around prompting, because you really need to dial that in to be able to extract the the exact thing that you want from these systems. And then you go, okay, well, I have dialed in my prompting techniques. Then you can scale that with something like automations. So when you are able to create a really dialed in prompt, you don't want to do an automation without that, because all you're doing is, if you've got a garbage prompt and you put it into an automation, you're just going to push out garbage faster. So that's why even people who say like prompting is dead, I don't know. I think that maybe a lot of people get by with just putting words in ChatGPT, but if you want to start essentially designing systems around this, you do need to know how to prompt. And so after automations, you start to build workflows. After workflows, you start to build, things that I'm struggling to kind of connect the dots on this, but essentially architectures or ecosystems where it goes back to like, what is the business problem that I need to solve? And what are the things, the tools, the platforms, the components that act together and talk to each other in synergy to enable me to achieve my objective with AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. So I teach this concept of thinking in AI, right? Like I can go and watch people do tricks and do cool, clever stuff, and that will interest me. And I didn't know AI could do that kind of stuff. But being the person who can walk into a business and doesn't need to go to their library of tricks, and they can say, okay, what's the issue? And they can go, okay, well, we can do this, we can do that. That's the real skill of like being an AI expert. It's not the person who can create the sensational videos and stuff, although they do get a lot of engagement for sure. I watch them, right? And I get FOMO when I say, oh my gosh, that person's so smart. We should be doing that stuff all the time. But I can tell you that what you're sharing here is advanced stuff for the listener. And so folks, when she's talking about this evolution of your efforts that starts with playing with the models and then actually understanding how to get good output because your prompts are better, and then understanding, hey, I've got a prompt that's getting me consistent output. Now that prompt could replace this node in a process that we do internally, and how then introducing the automations and things like that. And for those of you who are listening, a lot of times people will just say, oh, we're using AI in our business. And the reality is that they're probably using some automation, some AI. There's probably still a monkey back there, grinding things up or whatever. So it's not like it's turned into this Skynet situation where it's all being run by general intelligence. It's a series of evolution for each of you. And the best place to start would be, in Sarah's case, use Claude or GPT or whatever it was that you were doing, and get good there before you. It's that whole, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right?
Yeah.
Introducing AI into your business can be an elephant. So
yes,
don't try to eat it all at once.
And I do feel that in a way, I don't expect my clients to know how to do what we do, but in a way, I expect them to want to know what we're doing, because there are certain concepts that when you get to this stage of AI applied that you need to be aware of. Like when you're starting to integrate AI into your business, you need to be aware of certain things, like, that there's a concept called human in the loop that ensures that there's oversight on even when you're doing an automation, what the output is. There's concepts around like prompt drift. So that if someone builds in an automation, an AI automation or anything like that, that the prompts can also, the quality of the output can change over time. So even though I don't expect my clients to build the automations, I want them to know what those things are so they're aware of them, because just in the same way that I don't necessarily want to know how to code or anything like that. But, I don't need to know that to make use of a website or whatever. But I need to know things around like data security and, all those things that actually make the website secure and work for my business the way that I want it to work for my business.
So for those who are listening, how do they know if they're ready to start using AI in their business?
Okay. You're ready now, because
There
it's,
you
I
go.
think it comes back to that conversation that you just had before about how when people hear about AI, they have two reactions. If you've had any of the two reactions, so you're excited about it and you immediately see the opportunity, or you see or you have that moment where you think, oh my God, everything's going to change, and it's more like a existential threat, right?
Yeah.
If you're having any of those two reactions, good, because you get it.
Nice.
You get it, right?
Yeah.
If you're not having a reaction, then I would be, yeah, you're not ready yet. If you're like not there yet. But I think that, biased to say, but the world is not going to look the same way in a year, 6 months, whatever. We are on a trajectory, and those of us who are in it are feeling it deeply, and we are seeing that that's the way that things are going. And so if you're if it if you think back to, I don't know, when was the internet created? But
The 90s, maybe?
yeah, but when, if you think back, and if you thought to your, if you said, no, I'm not going to actually, this is just hype, and I'm not going to
Yeah.
consider putting my business online. Like, that is the difference. Like, in the
Yeah.
way that the world changed after the internet, we're in that moment now where everything is going to change. It's going to open up opportunities. It's going to completely disrupt industries. And the worst place, I think, to be is to be in that fear and anxiety, but not doing anything about it. If you even take little steps about, if you get, I think the worst thing is like having fear without understanding something. The more you understand something, the less you fear it. So if you're in that
Yes.
space where you're fearing it, my advice is to make friends with it and see how you can actually work with it and make it work for you versus the other way around.
That's great advice. So for those of you listening, if you've had that moment, that aha moment, good or bad, it's time. For
Yeah.
those of you who are like, is this AI thing going to stick around? Based on what both Sarah and I see happening in our own businesses and client businesses and stuff like that, there's no way that it's not going to, right? Like this is an accelerant in productivity, an accelerant in revenue generation, an accelerant in like enjoyment of the profession, right? This is so. And here's one thing about the comparison of the internet and AI, as far as I see it. The internet took a minute.
Mm-hmm.
AI, like generative AI, became popularly available 14 months ago, 15 months ago, right? And it's already, if you don't see it, there's transformations afoot. Doesn't mean that they're not happening just because you don't see it.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about that. That's one thing that I'm always curious about. What is your forecast or timeline before? Because I think that like last year we were early, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was great because you and I had a chance to really get a lot more repetitions with the tools and do the investigation. But now we see like it's only getting bigger, faster, stronger. What do you think the timeline is before businesses are there's gonna be this like pivotal moment to where it's too late?
It's a good question.
Are
I'm
we
trying to think
close?
about it. I think so. I mean, I've certainly
Are
seen.
we 2024 close?
Oh, I think this is the year of AI applied. This is the year of, like, I think last year was more of the hype where it was the 1,000 tools launching daily,
Yeah.
the like ongoing news. Even in this news cycle now, you don't see as much around it. It's kind of more
Yeah.
integrated. Like, my husband watches a lot of golf. And so, in the ads or whatever, it's always, they mention something about AI powered golfing, something or the other. So,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
kind of less like news headline and more like, this is the way we do things now.
Huh.
So I feel like we're getting to that place where people are accepting that, okay, right, but what does this mean for me or my business, and what do I need to like practically do about it? So I think I felt that is that the kind of roller coaster and the AI tools, the million of them that we're launching on a monthly basis, people got fed up about that. People got really tired,
Yeah.
and they're just going, cut the noise, tell me how to actually make this work for my business and for me right now. And I feel like that's starting to happen. And especially because people are seeing other, their competitors or people in their industry actually start making, moves in it, that it's becoming more kind of top of mind. But, even the people who are starting today we can talk from our personal experience, Chris, about like the difference of how we work in terms of our productivity and our daily work. We could talk about that, but also seeing clients who are now implementing these solutions, just able to get so much more done, so much faster and so much cheaper. Why wouldn't you? Like we have one client where we built an AI automation for them, and it's like one single automation saved them about $40,000. That's like nothing.
Love it.
That's one process that we AI-fied for them. So if you think about stacking up those things one on top of the other, and it was a process that was so manual and time consuming, everybody hated doing it and complained about it all the time. And it essentially created a bottleneck in their company where, their people weren't able to go and grow the company because they were stuck doing this one process. And so, yes, you think about the $40,000 saved, but what does that actually mean for the opportunity gained as well, now that that bottleneck is freed up in the business?
Yeah. Not only just the money. Yeah. The time, now you've got employees who are happier because they're not having to do that crap work, that throw it to the robot. Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah. Hey, so we're coming to the end of the interview here, but I want people to, I've gotten a lot out of your positions on AI in business. I'm not on TikTok, but I do follow you on LinkedIn. So for those of you listening, if you are looking for sane commentary on application of AI in business, there's a lot of hype out there. I don't see Sara generating the hype. She's sharing stuff that's happening real time in the real world. And it's obvious that she is somebody who spends a lot of time thinking about this stuff and like creating new thought around the topic as compared to regurgitating what's being, fed on podcasts or, comment from the Business Insider or whatever. So I would encourage you to do that. But if somebody was interested in engaging with your services, what does that look like?
Like the process, or?
Yeah, they reach out, and then what should they expect to happen?
I mean, you feel free to reach out via LinkedIn, and we usually kind of get a sense of what you're looking to achieve, like where you are in your journey, what you're looking to achieve. We jump on a call. We talk about exactly where it's at, where you're at, where your teams are at, what you're looking to achieve. And we, work a way to help get you there, essentially. So
collaborative dialogue on solution discovery.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds great. Is the website a place for them to find you, or you're better at the LinkedIn would probably be the easiest way for them to get you?
I love LinkedIn because it's that immediate exchange where you can like be in the DMs and things like that. And it's not so kind of static. But also, you can check me out on my LinkedIn, or you can go to Maivenly.com. That's the website, and it's all about building the business mavens of tomorrow. So that's why I called it that.
And don't forget TikTok, folks.
Right.
Go find Sara on TikTok.
For a different side of me, you can go to TikTok.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, Sara, thank you so much for taking the time. I know that that it's a precious commodity and that you've got high demand for the things that you shared today. And I can guarantee that the listeners have a better understanding of the approach that they need to be taking and how they need to be thinking about using AI at work. So thank you. And thanks everybody for joining on this episode. And we'll see you on the next time. And anything that was discussed in here will be included in the show notes. So make sure you check those out. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to Using AI at Work. Don't forget to subscribe for more conversations about how to use AI at work. And a special thank you to our sponsor, Chief AI Officer, for empowering businesses with AI education and training. Visit their website for a free AI readiness assessment and AI strategy guide to help you get started using AI at work. That's www.chiefaiofficer.com. Special thanks to our producer, Evan DeSaulnier, for making this episode possible. Follow us on Twitter at the handle Using AI at Work, and visit www.usingaiatwork.com for free resources to help you harness AI in your role.